I'm very happy to see finally, after 16 years of work in Hamburg from the European Center on Anti-Ziganism Research, that the term Anti-Ziganism, let's say Anti-Gypsyism in this round, it's arrived to the role players, and you are those who need these structures explained so that we can find together a way with the majority society for a better inclusion of Roma. Let me please read you two sides of my statement. Europe is developing backwards since more than 10 years. Nationalism is on the rise and feeding the century-old anti-Ziganism in Europe towards more than 20 million European Roma. More than 20 years ago, as a young man, I helped here in Warschau setting up the cprsi and inviting the first time in the OSCE history a large group of Roma activists to the Human Dimension implementation meeting. The effect and results after 20 years is more than poor, and all of you should be ashamed that we are still discussing the same things like 20 years ago.
You're right, my friend.
It is your decision to take on the Roma NGOs as partners to reach the goals that you all have set decades ago with the OSCE Roma Action Plan. There must be installed a law enforcement agency for the whole OSCE area. We, the Roma leaders and activists, need this on a level of the OSCE or of the Council of Europe to make the European Union move and take responsibility in their legal area of the European Union. We have all kinds of recommendations that will help for Roma inclusion in the OSCE and EU area. We don't need more papers or recommendations. We just need that they get implemented as said. Roma need inclusion to the societies they live in as citizens, not assimilation or integration. We are integrated into the societies. When we share the same values, respect the same laws, then we are integrated. Another very important and not to be ignored pillar is the Anti-Ziganism. Yes, Anti-Ziganism and not Anti-Gypsyism. Dan was so friendly already to explain my argumentation. Anti-Ziganism is to be understood as an instrument of stigmatization whose intent is not to observe and understand the circumstances of the other side, but to find elements of identification and legitimate separation and other discriminatory actions against those others. Anti-Ziganism is utterly freely and unfiltered by the majority society. Thus, it hardly matters if a community of gypsies has been living nearby for decades, their neighbors still consider them nomads. Nearly 700 years ago, the Roma entered the continent together with the Turks during the Ottoman Empire's invasion of Europe. This is probably the reason why they were initially feared and distrusted, a notion that remained in the European consciousness and has been nourished until our present day. This apparently is a declaration of enemy status within society that can be felt mentally as well as physically. Anti-Ziganism is a part of European cultural heritage, fed for centuries by the fear of the Ottoman Empire, which existed until 1912, and therefore of the Dark Turks. The Roma are faced with a European society that does not deal with them as humans, but only sees them in their own gypsy image. This image thinking is the basic problem of Anti-Ziganism nowadays. It explains the identity and the actions of the Roma to the majority population without taking any notice of their actual living reality. Migration movements of the Roma are only flight attempts, trying to escape persecution of violent conflicts in certain regions or trying to survive in a hostile environment. People flee when they feel threatened. This pattern of flight, wrongfully habitualized as nomadization. had its share in the survival of the Roma people in the last 700 years in diaspora in Europe. Anti-Ziganism can be found in all classes in all European majority societies, rich as well as poor, educated as well as unliterate, from the north to the south and from the west to the east. Let me read to you a quote to warn you today in advance, so no one will be able to say we didn't know. The great breadth of a nation falls for a big lie much easier than for a small one. Heinrich Goebbels, propaganda minister of Nazi Germany. Anti-Ziganism prevents equal treatment and therefore every attempt of integration, tolerance, or assimilation of the Roma into the majority society of the respective states they are living in, although they are full rights citizens. Because of anti-Ziganism, the Roma in all over Europe lack the protection of their basic democratic rights, especially the right for equal treatment, which should be codified in every democratic constitution. The discourse on anti-Ziganism in and with the national societies is an elementary component to achieve the goal of eradicating the European anti-Ziganism. I recommend a Roma law enforcement agencies to check how far our plans for improving the Roma situation are really implemented in the countries. Anti-Ziganism monitoring in the whole OSCE area. Stronger and more effective anti-hate speech laws. Education on anti-Ziganism as a problem of the majority society, and the inclusion of Roma. And do not forget two things. First, we, the Roma, double every 20 years. And the anti-Ziganism is like a European cultural heritage that is passed on by generation to generation without ever being questioned. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you for your intervention, Michael Munsum. I pass now the floor to Ashman.